Gumbo the tortoise lives on his own. He's a small, quiet fellow who enjoys the comfort of his home. Gumbo's best friend is his very own shell, and together they travel through lands, happy and well. Till one day he saw something down yonder to the west. A golden red orb in a giant bird's nest. Its luxurious glow was pleasing to the eye, and Gumbo wanted it, he couldn't deny. For the tortoise, this could have been farewell. But the creature only wanted to steal his shell. A gateway? A death trap? Gumbo didn't know, but something inside him told him to go, and so Gumbo plundered forward to retrieve his shell. Little did he know it would be an odyssey through hell. A million fantasies all thrown at him at once. And all he could think about was what would happen if he pushed the nose of that eerie-looking face that watched him with those button eyes. Or if he spent a lifetime sitting in a cupboard, guarded by wooden bars. In what way could he wallow for hours after hours, days after days, weeks after weeks, years after years, with the singular purpose of being looked at? Gumbo woke up from the things he had seen. He wondered, were they his reality or simply just a dream? But right in front of him now stood a monstrous fort. But he was no longer afraid to battle in the jaws of La Mort. He made it to the top with a surge of power, only to find an upper-class baby shower? He couldn't get distracted. He was already so near. He had to find his shell. It should be somewhere around here. But he was suddenly afraid, nervous. He had walked right into his own tomb, as devilish eyes watched him from all around the room. Monsters and creatures now surrounded the room, and Gumbo now felt his heart beat with the boom. He was surrounded, outnumbered, completely alone. But soon he realized that heartbeat wasn't his own. There, in the very center of that room, a large heart, beating with that loud boom. And around it, mountains and mountains of gold. Gumbo didn't have to leave this room. He could stay here, rich until he got old. No, this wasn't right. He was better than that. He couldn't just live his life here wallowing in money like a rat. There was one thing he knew pretty well. He couldn't make the same mistake that had lost him his shell. Then right through the door burst that monstrous beast. It said, "You're not on the guest list. You're intruding on our feast." The heart beat faster as creatures stormed through the room. And Gumbo backed towards him to try and escape his doom. Little did he know he would tear the place apart. For that muscular organ was action at the castle's beating heart. He landed face first in the lone and level sands, and that castle was now a humongous giant with enormous hands. The giant spoke, "Leave this place or things won't end well." But Gumbo wasn't scared anymore. He said, "I'm not leaving without my shell." Out of the hole in the giant's chest came a figure with a crown. He was elegantly dressed. Gumbo knew the shape of this figure well. It was none other than his long-lost shell. Gumbo spoke. "My old friend, I've come to rescue you. I've missed you so much, but you look so different. When did you get arms, legs, and a face?" The shell looked at him with button eyes and said, "Thank you, Gumbo, but as a matter of fact, I'm actually the king of this place." That bird you saw wasn't abducting me. It was taking me to a place where I could finally be free. In the outside world, there was nothing but an inanimate thing. But in this magical world, I could finally be a king. Gumbo said, "After everything I've done for you, after all the dangers I've faced, You're just gonna stay here and let all of that go to waste? I've escaped harpies. I've ventured through jungles, oceans, deserts, and more, all of that to rescue you. I even stood up to this giant and your upper-class crew. The shell looked at him with sadness in his eyes and said, Gumbo, I know you're probably in pain, but none of your efforts have ever been in vain. Your adventure was never about rescuing me from this black hole, but it was always about finding that kindness and courage within your soul. And frankly, if you are willing to do all of those things for me, even venture through the depths of hell, then it's pretty obvious that a brave warrior like you doesn't really need a shell. And with that realization, Gumbo was redeemed. He could finally leave this underworld just as he'd dreamed. In those final moments, he said goodbye to his shell, and a gate finally opened where he could leave this hell. And so Gumbo, the kind hero, left happily without his shell, and that was the end of his Odyssey through hell.